everyone. I tried to be festive for the video. Do you like my hair? I think I did a pretty good job. So for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the second Hunger Games movie, Catching Fire, that came out last Thursday. Thursday as in it was supposed to be a midnight release, but I actually saw it at 8 p.m. So depressing. I really would have liked it to be a midnight release like the first one. It's just so much more fun for the fandoms to get together and talk about it and stuff, and I'm just really sad about it. This review is going to consist of two parts. Number one is going to have no spoilers so that all my friends who have not seen the movie yet or who haven't read the books can watch. And part two has a huge spoiler alert because I'm going to be expanding a little bit more on things that were in the book and not in the movie, etc. First off, I just want to give a little backstory to my standpoint, I guess. So prior to the first movie, I had not read the books, but I actually enjoyed it so much, or at least the concept, that I read all the books in the summer and waited patiently for the second movie to come out, which was my favorite book. That being said, I can't really say much about the first Hunger Games movie because I went into it knowing nothing about the Hunger Games, and I came out loving the world that they had created and the whole concept around the districts and the rebellion and everything, and Katniss and everything so much. I loved it either way, and I didn't really notice that it was a bad movie, but I can understand why people think that because of the whole shaky cam thing, and retrospectively, oh man did they miss a lot. The main thing I think it lacked though was really just the context between the capital and the districts and the relationship, because you really don't get a sense of how bad it is there. I'm fairly certain that the characters in the first movie were not really well portrayed, but I can't really say anything to that because I saw the movie and then I read the book and now I just can't remember. So first order of business, I just wanted to point out, as someone who's read the books, I couldn't help but feel that the previews were super unnecessary and gave way too much away. This series has so much hype that you do not need to show everything in the preview. Like, oh my goodness. Reading the book, all I want in a movie is to see a visual representation of that book. And that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see like the visual of the banquet, how cool that was, and how I pictured it in my head. I wanted to see it on screen, and everything I was excited to see, I saw in the trailers. So what's left for us? The story, which we've already read. Alrighty, so this is the start of part one with no spoilers. I've never actually done a movie review before, but the only way I can think of to start this is just to tell you my general opinion on it. Was it good or bad? Okay, it was really good, and it was better than the first one by far. I thought it was a really good adaptation of the book, and that is incredibly rare in Hollywood these days. The new director, I already forget his name, I know his last name's Lawrence though, was a much needed improvement for the films because that shaky cam. One of the biggest complaints that I and many others share about the first movie was that the fight scenes were just horribly filmed because you can't see what's going on, and there was a very big lack of blood and graphicness, I guess. I kind of see why they don't want to make it like 18A, because then a lot of young people can't really watch it, and they also want to make a bunch of money off people and their parents taking them to see the film. But if you're making a movie about kids killing each other, you probably shouldn't make it suitable for 10-year-olds. The critical scenes were so well filmed, and I'm just so appreciative that we have a new director. Similarly, the sets and everything were just gorgeous and so on par with what I was thinking, especially with the banquet scene. The part where they drink those things that make them throw up so they can eat more food is one of my favorite parts in the whole book, because it just shows how ridiculous the capital actually is and how similar we could become to them. The characters are so well portrayed by the actors that play them in this movie. I first off just want to commend Jennifer Lawrence on being the perfect Katniss, and everyone wants to be you, so congratulations. I want to say how impressed I am with Finnick and Joanna's characters. They were perfect for their roles. Joanna was played by Jenna Malone and Finnick Sam Claflin, I think. Finnick was pretty attractive and Joanna was super spunky. I could seriously talk about every single character in this movie and tell you how good the actors that played them were, but let's move on. So I have no problems with the actors that play the characters, and I think they do such a good job, especially the really emotional parts and the intense scenes, I guess. So now I'm going to move on to the second part of this video where I talk about how the characters are different in the book and what I do not like about the movie in that respect. So the opening scene begins with Katniss and Gale hunting in the forest, and immediately I was like, this is not how the book starts, and I'm already disappointed. It was okay, but they are supposed to be dealing with a love triangle. In the movies, it looks like she's all for Gale, and Peeta she could not care less about. But in the books, it's actually really a love triangle, and she cares equally for both of them, but she doesn't really realize it yet. And I'm not satisfied at all with what Peeta and Katniss are doing on screen right now, because it's just not accurate. I'm just not sure about how the audience who have not read the books are taking this love triangle. I feel like Peeta is really just pushed aside the whole movie, and it's not really clear why Katniss wants to protect him at the end either, because guess what? He still has 2 legs. And the whole point of Katniss protecting Peeta is because he actually can't really win the games on his own. He has 1 leg and he's a complete liability, but in the movie he's pretty well fine. He could probably do pretty well. Without getting into too much detail, there were a lot of lines that weren't said in the movie that were really crucial to her and Peeta's relationship. They actually cut out the part where she runs into those 2 women and she finds that there's a District 13, and you don't find this out until the end of the movie. This, however, is a good thing, because if you find that out, you are pretty much going to be suspicious the whole time, and I feel like this movie was pretty powerful for people who have not read the book, because you really don't know what's going on until the very end. It's times like these where I feel like sometimes you're better off not reading the book until after you've seen the movie. Similarly, Plutarch does not show Katniss the watch, and that is very critical in the book, but it would help you discover the fact that the arena is a clock. They probably cut it out because it's way too obvious that Plutarch will be on her side. So this is the pivotal scene that I was waiting for, that it was probably my favorite scene in the entire series, and they did not put it in the movie. Haymitch's backstory. Oh, seriously. I can understand why they didn't include this in the film, because it didn't really tie into the whole theme of the book, and you could understand the story without actually knowing that part at all, but I loved it! Ooh. So it's the part where Haymitch is fighting in the second quarter quell, and it shows his victory, and how freaking cool is that? He's such a badass! And the way he outsmarts the Capitol is so cool, and Katniss follows in his footsteps 24 years later, and I think that's so awesome. But yes, it was not in the film. I will hope to see it in the bonus features, because it's possibly filmed it and just didn't include it in the movie, but we'll see. Those of you who are in the same boat as me and so wish to see a visual representation of this scene, you can actually click the link below, because there is a YouTube video that is fan-made and it's freaking awesome. It's mind-blowingly well done for a fan-made video, and I highly recommend you watch it because it kind of satisfies that need. A couple positive notes. The scene when Cinna is beaten to death in front of Katniss when she's being raised into the arena is, oh my goodness, so emotional and so intense. You just get this overwhelming feeling of injustice for Katniss and for Cinna, but for Katniss, because she has to witness this after, by the way, already dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder from the first Hunger Games, and now she's getting sent back into the Hunger Games. And how do you even focus on fighting for your life when you're dealing with that kind of stuff? It's just crazy. On a less sad, but also still kind of sad note, Effie's kind of gesture towards Katniss and Peeta is so sweet, and Elizabeth Banks does such a good job of that, and it made me cry a little bit. So one final thought, and I wanted to put this out to you guys because I don't actually remember if they were in the film or not, but Octavia and Flavius and the other girl, the prep team, they were in the first movie, but they didn't really have much character development at all. It's just a really short role. Some of you may know they're pretty big characters in the third book. So have they shown them at all in the second movie? And is it necessary for them to build their character in the second movie for them to be in the third movie? Or will they still be there? Because seriously, that's a pretty big part. And with the third movie being divided into 2 parts, they have to include that, right? Because what else are they going to put in those movies? Seriously. So I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that in the comments below. Maybe I'm missing something, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this movie review. If you want me to review more movies and books, just let me know. It's relatively new ground for me. This one I was very inspired to do because of my love for the Hunger Games. As you can see by 2 tutorials I've posted in the past. Links will be below to those. They're both Capitol people. I'll probably film another one of those too, especially a male one. I was trying to do that this year, but it didn't work out. But I'll probably do that sometime in the future because it's so much fun, and I just love the Capitals. So anyway, so thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!